Normally, we try and keep this show very clean, very family friendly. Longtime listeners of the show know this. But as podcasters, nay, journalists, we need to discuss the words that came out of Tre Holloman's mouth. You're listening to Can't Read, Can't Write. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Can't Read, Can't Write, the podcast that proves Spartans can talk. I'm Mike Jones, joined as always by the guy with the dumb dog, Kevin Greck, and the dude with the dumbest dog, Alex Plum. And neither of them have the dog in them that Tre Holloman does.
Definitely not.
Look at you with the full circle. That's great.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Speaking of the words that came out of Tre Holloman's mouth, I have those for you for describing us as journalists in the culture. What are you talking about?
That was for the bit. That was for the bit.
God knows, because none of those serious journalists that are listening to this podcast are going to be talking about it in the way that we will. So
That is true.
There
really.
were a number of MFers dropped over in the old Breslin Center locker room, I think, after the game. Guys were feeling
themselves.
Feeling like they won the Big Ten by 3 whole games, and they deserve it,
Yeah.
gentlemen.
Yeah.
How
Cheers.
are you doing today? How you guys doing right now?
I feel like a champion.
You should. We all should.
We haven't felt this since the first year we did the podcast.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
And then listeners will recall the world fell apart shortly thereafter.
yeah. It's
Like
been
a
long
week from now, the world fell apart and we didn't get to enjoy any of it, really.
Is this the nature is healingest moment of them all? MSU is back at the top of the conference standing.
5 years on. My God. The earth
mean-
is healed. The president is the president again. God
Okay,
bless
well,
America.
It's not perfect, okay? It's not fully healed. You can't have it all. Plum.
You really can't. You really fucking can't.
Well, mate, a sacrifice worth no. But anyway, we of course want to thank everyone for listening. And if we could ask, please share the pod with Spartans in your life. Rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get podcasts. Of course, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Spartan_pod or on Blue Sky at SpartanPod. And check us out on YouTube. Guys, Plum, you're back this week. Tell us what we're doing this week.
Well, gentlemen,
Rejoicing?
Rejoicing, we're celebrating, we're winning, we're doffing our caps at the excellence of this team. I might even be polite to all of the members of this team tonight, basketball specifically. And in honor of this victory, when we go behind the green wall, basketball is going to lead this week. We'll talk basketball, we'll talk women's shooty hoops, we'll talk hockey before we head off Grand River with a couple of important updates, at least one self-inflicted wound, and then we'll preview maybe-ish a basketball game for Friday? Question marks. And then we'll take your social media questions, where Blueski is the way to play.
Or a mail. Do we have?
Oh,
did we
yes,
check the
we
email
did. We
this
checked
week?
the emails. We got 2 emailed questions.
Good.
Yes.
All right, well, let's dig into it. And, of course, it'll be great to chat the rivalry win, but it was a win in Iowa City that clinched an outright Big Ten title for Michigan State University, beating Iowa 91-84 in a game that I think we would all agree the first half, that's as throw in the towel as I'd felt watching Michigan State probably all year. It just seemed like they didn't get off the bus. They knew that they at least had a portion of the title, and it was not great. What was the deficit at the half? Somehow, I think by Jace Richardson's heroism,
They
we were
cut it
only
to
down
like 7 or something.
Yeah.
like that, right? Yeah,
but at one point in time, I think it was as much as 16.
but that was in like the first 10 minutes. Still,
Sure.
like just like with the Michigan game when we were up 22 in the first 10 minutes or whatever it was. It was like I love this. I'm having a great time, but I don't trust this because I've watched about 1,000 Big Ten basketball games where this has swung the other way, including this Iowa game. I I never lost faith in this team in this game. I know that it didn't look pretty until the second half of the second half, but I always kind of had faith that they were going to pull this one out. And then when Trey said those fateful words, whatever they are, who can read lips around here? That's when I had a pretty good feeling that actually we were going to be potentially ending Fran McCaffrey's career.
Couldn't happen to a nicer guy.
Fran and the Fightin' Frans did make it a little spicy at the end, just in a way that gave you a little flashback to whatever that year was. The infamous
3 years
year.
ago now.
Yeah.
I like how they played clips of it. I want to talk about the production of the Michigan game as well, but this production I thought was great because there was acknowledgement of that moment and they showed it. They re-showed Trey chirping multiple times. Like they were like, "Here you go, viewers. This is what the people want."
This is what they want.
Ate it up. I loved it. I was like, "Give me that slop. I want all of it. Let's go."
And you get Hummel bad-mouthing the refs in real time as maybe the worst officiated game of. And I feel like I keep saying that, and the refs find new ways to be worse.
Yeah, Earl Walton and Keith Kimball, between the pair, had an absolute fuck of a game. And Larry
Scirotto was also there.
He was there too. I mean, he's generally kind of keeps to himself. Not my favorite of the referees that we get, but he does get put on high-profile games. To wit, he refereed today's with Michigan. So I don't know. He kind of stays out of the way. But Earl and Keith, good God. Jesus Christ, man. Fucking try. It just, the balance was off completely. The inconsistency between what's a block and what's a fucking charge.
Oh my God. Just like back and forth. Just wrong.
Oh.
Yeah. It was, right. So I think there was a sequence. Coop got hit with a very vertical block.
Perfect.
I don't know that actually
Perfect
blocked.
intense.
I think he just went
Yeah.
vertical. Couldn't have defended better. Then Cohen Carr goes for a dunk on the other end and gets just slashed.
Mollywomped on the arm.
Yeah, no call. And then come back on the other end, and Trey gets an all-ball block and gets called for a foul. Absolutely brutal. But I think that all took place. That series still was, I think it would be fair to say, characterized by the high energy that led Michigan State to go on a 31-4, 31-6 run to just put Iowa behind them. And it did all seem to be, I think, prior to the incident that we're going to break down in detail here in a second. But Michigan State had been kind of trading buckets with Iowa. They in the first half couldn't have figured out the zone. In the second half, they seemed to have figured it out, but they weren't getting the defensive stops. Those set of fouls did seem to be characterized by an uptick in Michigan State defensive intensity that ultimately kind of turned the tap off.
If I may put a button on the officiating talk, well, I got to leave it to Plum to put a button on it. But if I may, it goes to show how little respect Kelly Pfeiffer's peers must have for him, that they had the opportunity to vanquish his personal Voldemort, and they were like, "Let's keep Iowa in this game.
Yeah.
Maybe give him a top 10 win that Fran can point at and try to stay in this gig."
Yep.
They must loathe Kelly Pfeiffer in the same way that we loathe Kelly Pfeiffer. It's the only reasonable explanation. Plum, anything else you have?
I'll just say to that point, for folks who don't remember, there was this last season, I think. Michigan State against Iowa, and
It was 3 years ago, I think.
was it that long?
Yeah, I believe so. I
Okay.
think it was 21. Yeah.
Jesus, I don't know. Okay. Well, anyway, Michigan State, I think, playing at Iowa, and something happened, and Fran didn't like the call, and so I think it's a media timeout. His team is huddled. He's nowhere near the huddle. He's standing outside of the huddle, arms crossed across his chest, just staring at Kelly Pfeiffer, the referee, who, by the way, is an Iowan and grew up eating Iowa corn exclusively for all meals. Fully farm, Iowa corn-fed farm bois. Anyway,
Spit in his face.
Yeah,
it was in 23, 2 years ago.
February
25th, 23.
And it was goofy. And Kelly's just looking back at him, not smiling, but really just confused. Like, most referees would have immediately assessed that as intimidation and assessed either a technical or would have just sent his ass off, because that's exactly what it was. There's really no other interpretation for it. And Kelly was like, my little penis doesn't know what to do. And so he just took it. He took it
I think in that moment his little penis did doodle.
It did right down his leg. Right down his doodle leg.
Jones taking another direction there. But let's talk about the actual game. How about our Teen Wolf? How about Jackson Kohler in this game? My God, Jackson Kohler. First off, 5 for 5 from the free throw line. Let's not forget that.
Doffing.
In a game where we did not shoot well from the line.
No. 66%, in fact, 20 for 30.
No, plays really good defense, plays really good offense. I was just absolutely thrilled with him in his minutes in this game. Jeremy Fears also, we were a little bit worried about him, but played really, really well. Hit a 3 in this game, and dished the ball, although a fair amount. But Jace is the story of this one, has been the story of the last several games. Just absolutely monster game. 22 points, leading all scorers. Had a quick check on that. I mean, just like Tre Holloman, I think is the story, but like this team came together and rallied and shut them down and just said, no, we're the Big Ten champions. We're coming to your house and we're showing it. And we're going to leave no doubt, whether it's those mean Illinois terrestrial radio people asking Jonesy about the schedule halfway through, or Mr. Locked On, who couldn't handle all the truth bombs Jonesy was dropping on Sheehan, so they had to remove that episode. Like, this MSU basketball team said, not today. We're the Big Ten champions in this game. And, bro, unbelievable.
And we are.
The medal.
Yeah, it's almost as if they looked down and realized the name on their jersey, and then saw the name on the jersey across from them, and were like, what are we doing here? Truly, like Iowa has no business doing. They out rebounded. Did they tally more in the game? But for that first half, certainly. Let's see, 10-26, and so we ultimately got the margin there. But still, Iowa doesn't have any business essentially splitting rebounds with you.
Yeah.
I can't believe you would say that about the last team in the conference tournament game. Okay, number 15 Iowa.
Number 15 Iowa.
Their bench points were outdoing us for a good portion of that game. They scored. Did they finish with more in the paint than us? Points in the paint, 42 to 40. So again, we ultimately got the edge there, but still not good for a team that's in love with the three ball. I mean, I guess it's not wholly surprising that early on Fran doesn't coach defense. That's never has, never will. But the reason he's had any modicum of success in Iowa is because he does know offense. And for that first half, they were doing some interesting stuff that was effective, and our bigs weren't prepared for it or were not capable of handling it until they regrouped in the second. But either way, it was a moment where the moment seemed to be coincide with what happened with Tre, but that they realized what are we doing here? I believe I heard someone say that after the moment in question, that Tre went up to each guy on the floor and like dapped him up and said, "Fuck these guys." And so like, I don't know. And yeah, so do we want to talk about that play in particular?
Yeah.
So Tre is guarding, what's that guy's name? It starts with an H, right?
Harding.
Brock Harding.
Yeah, Brock Harding. He's guarding Brock Harding, who's not particularly great at basketball, and gets hit with a moving screen. Brock Harding flails as if he's been fouled somehow, which he has not.
Yeah.
And Tre goes off on him to the point that Cohen Carr, I think my second hero for this game, by the way, is we didn't talk about Cohen Carr's performance in this game, which was also excellent. But Carr pulls Holloman back, probably prevents a tee. It's almost surprising he didn't get teed up at all.
Yeah.
And then, yes, I think there's some debate as to whether he said, "fuck you, bitch," or "fuck you, pussy." But either way.
Said them both. He made it a portmanteau. Bissy.
I don't even know what got him that mad. It was unclear.
It doesn't matter. It was the team's performance. The contextual reality of coming to Iowa and having them just absolutely, I don't know. I mean, it felt awful. This was a painful game to watch for the vast majority of it. We didn't play well, and he should have been as angry at himself as he was at them. So
Listen,
I'm glad that he found it.
Tre is a consummate Michigan State Spartan. And when you run through a screen and it's moving and there's a foul and that person complains, that's a fresh batch of disrespect right there. And you wear that disrespect, you let it take a little chip out of your shoulder.
That's good.
You get in his face and you take the game over after that. That's what's meant to happen.
The other thing, I don't know that we've really talked about this on the podcast, but in all sincerity, like Tre Holloman is and has been super impressive for a very long time as a leader, right? He's while his offensive game, we'd hope in senior season rounds into a different form. As a freshman was super impressive because he didn't do any more than he was asked to do, which allowed him to actually get playing time. He defended tenaciously and then didn't do anything crazy. Folks will forget that he would have been the second highest or highest ranked recruit on Mel Tucker's class if he had chosen to play football.
Oh, if he had chosen to be a defensive back, yeah.
Yeah. And you see it with those long, like that block, the long arms are precisely that. But beyond all that, the other thing that we don't really talk about, Tre Holloman has a stutter. And speaking is not something that comes as easily to him as with other folks. And the fact that he's that unshrinkable, I find quite inspiring. That he is a true leader, leads the team, and then is afraid of no one. I think is just incredibly impressive and a testament to his character and, frankly, the parenting. Like, I mean, to raise your kid to be that brave, like I think that's freaking awesome. So, anyway, Tre was a badass in that moment and the remainder of the game.
Are you getting Blake a headband as a result of all this? And like, maybe we don't call it a Cassius headband just this one time. Maybe it's a Tre Holloman headband now.
When you've got Carr and Fears rocking the headband also.
Yeah, it's catching on. In the tournament, they should all have headbands.
Doesn't Fiddler wear a headband?
He does.
He has been, yeah.
I think he made those like 2 threes in a game and then kept wearing the headband because he's like,
lucky. Don't wash it.
But Well, we can talk more about the sort of the team at large, but let's move to this Michigan game because this was, unless anyone else wants to say anything about the Iowa one of note.
No.
No? Okay. So today, Michigan State, I know the final score says a 17-point win, but demolished Michigan, 79-62, in a first half that felt like we had the potential to duplicate that 2000 or 2001 absolute ass kicking.
Yeah.
Didn't happen, but Jaden Akins started us off. I think made his first three-pointers. I don't even think Jace really got going until the second half. But all in all, guard play just ruled the day here with Richardson scoring 18, Akins 11, Fears 7, and Tre Holloman leading the team with 20 points.
It was, for people were describing the Iowa game as a potential trap game. This is the opposite of a trap game. I guess I'm trying to articulate what I'm thinking here. Maybe a casual fan would look at this as a trap game. But I think anyone that's been following this team over the last month, I think anyone that knows this program, I think anyone that has I'm not surprised by what happened here today is what I'm saying. Once they got the championship, I think it was just like 100% focus on closing this thing out and humiliating that other team and leaving no doubt that we are the best team in the Big Ten. And they did that. We were texting during the game, and there's that back-to-back, like really bad 3-point shots between Akins and Holloman. And I was like, guys, you can't kill shot with 30 minutes left. But they wanted to. They were stepping on necks.
Badly.
They wanted to stab to death every minute of that game. And I know at the beginning of the second half that like Michigan went on their run, but like there was everything that I said before about like teams going up by 10, 15 in the first half and that being a concern. I threw it away for this one. Once they went up 10-15, I was like, they're not relinquishing. Not in this.
Not at home. Not like this.
Not today.
Not today.
With this senior class. There's no way. And there was no doubt who the dog was in the building this afternoon.
I think you brought something up there, Greg, that, Plum, I'd like your thoughts on, Jaden Akins, the sort of the not today, not for senior day. And I think sometimes I've questioned Akins as a leader in the sense that he seems quieter. And we all know he probably works harder than anybody
else. Yes.
But as some of those other leadership characteristics that Trey or Fears seem to fit that archetype better. But to Greg's point here, I think actually that maybe that is a testament to Akins' leadership, is that no one on that team was going to allow for anything other than a beatdown to occur today.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's. I might say it this way. I think there's something permission giving about the shot selection. I don't know that they would have started gambling with threes as early as they did, given their completion rate this season, if Akins hadn't opened that door a little bit and then just started dropping them, which he wasn't able to be consistent on, and that's not surprising. And then he made some more of his consistently Jaden things, like turning the ball over to nobody because he forgot how to dribble for a few times. Those things notwithstanding, I think the team looks at him and sort of says, okay, Jaden's doing it, we can try it. And from a leadership perspective, if that's what we want to describe it as, I guess that's fair. Maybe that's what I would appreciate about him, and I think that's what will be missed. I also think his work ethic, although it hasn't paid off in spades for him, and I know you'll point to the box score and you'll say, but he's, the point. And he's fairly reliable 10 to 15 point scorer. which is not nothing, and that's been the hallmark of this team, with a team that can score, 35 points at least off the bench. Was that in the Michigan score? We had 35?
Yeah, 20 of them
to
were
their
Tre,
3. Well, okay, well, so still. But my point being, that with that reliability, again, he's the closest thing we have to something like that that's that consistent. And yet he's still not an all-star. He's still not probably going to be very successful if he even gets into the league. So I don't know. I think it's the work ethic. I think it is the quietness. It's these other intangibles that made him this team's captain. And he hit some sort of beautiful streak today that I can only hope portends he's on a roll now, from now until the second weekend of April.
Is this that might be his second game? It feels like in a while making multiple. Yeah, he went 3 for 10 against Iowa too. I mean,
yeah, it was 3 in Iowa. Yep.
That was the other thing about the Iowa game that kind of actually carried over to Michigan. Just we were making them earlier was I believe Tom described it as playing like pretty boys, which I actually think there was no connotation in his mouth whatsoever that could be taken as remotely anything bad. But his point being in the Iowa game is that they were trying to shoot too many threes. I think in that first half we attempted 16 3-point shots in the Iowa game. And it may well have been the same in this Michigan one. 7 for 18 in the first half from 3-point land. Who are we?
Which I know it didn't end up that way, but one of my buddies, I got a buddy that texted me, I think this was late January or early February. Don't worry about Jace. He'll turn it on for March. And on one hand, would have liked this earlier, bud. I would have felt better about it. But I texted him back today and was like, please continue to be right.
Please be right.
Please continue to be right.
Never
PW.
Stop being right.
Appreciate
Oh,
you,
it was PW.
It was PW, yeah. So I'm just happy for him that I know this season hasn't gone the way that he wanted it to perfectly. And I'm happy for him that maybe things are rounding into form. And please continue to be right. PW.
Here.
Anything else we want to talk about in the Michigan game other than the antics at the end?
No, I do. I want to just say briefly that both if there was one, I said I might not do this, but I'm going to do it anyway because I need to be true to myself. If there's one player that is just devastatingly awful and was in the Iowa game and again today, it is and has to be. We could say it in unison. Xavier Booker. What the fuck is going on and why? And was there some deal with the devil that was made? This is a player who I didn't expect to be fantastic, but I did not expect this to be 4 points. Was it? Four against Iowa, I think. No, 2. Jesus fuck. 2 against Iowa in 4 minutes, which again, 4 minutes. I mean, maybe that's actually a pretty good ratio.
I think he was negative 11 in that game. He was terrible defensively.
And I think I think that's the point. That's the point. Now we can talk about scoring all day, and this team is maybe not the one to look at for what the standard should be. But defensively, this is a guy who's not even trying. I mean, if you saw it, if you actually caught him playing during the Iowa game, first, good on you. You were paying attention. But second, the absolute absence of effort, the absence of anything that could look like care. And we've gotten after guys in the past for that same kind of thing. This was my big thing every year with whose name will come to me from last season. It was the same fucking thing. It like no emotion. No, and the only time you see emotion was when the fucking kids on the bench pissed about it. And you're like, well, why should you be playing?
And Michigan schemed at him too when he was on the floor, and it didn't last very long. Yeah,
because they knew what to do. Yeah.
We should
more minutes in this game though. Yeah,
he had 7. Listen, it's a Big Ten championship winning game.
All right.
Should we talk about our Big Ten championship winning drinks that we're having right now?
Oh, did we text and ask?
I did. I have the answers. Oh, you got the answers too.
Yep.
Is this for number 20 or no, number 7?
Number 7.
Yeah. He said we already drank number 20, which I didn't.
Oh, I'm having it again, and it's quite
Well,
tasty.
number 7 is also very good. And
I didn't think so.
You didn't like it?
I'm not sure I'm in love with it.
Listener Mike Jones sent us a good one, I think, personally, for number 7. And for those that are interested, it's your Jack Daniels number 27 Gold, which is...
That's so funny that we are drinking number 20 and number 7 Plum.
I know, isn't that funny? And I had just told you it was my lucky number. So isn't this really very... Something's happening. Something's happening.
It's almost like our team just won the Big Ten by 3 games. Thank you, listener Mike Jones. Cheers.
Cheers to you, my guy.
To look this up. I don't know that I've ever had this.
Maple wood barrels they're finishing that. That's the gold, apparently.
That's quite nice.
I think
Mama Jones, if you are listening, this is up her. She's a Makers fan. This would be up the alley, though. Very sweet.
Up the alley.
Very good.
All right. Very good. I think I have it on a bit too much ice. I think that might be my issue.
Should we talk about the unpleasantness at the end?
Yeah.
Celebration at the end. Yeah.
Yeah.
Trey Part 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Trey Part 2. Which again,
Stupid.
well, so let's get to sort of we'll get to where Trey has found himself in literal one-of-one territory. But to get there, so I'm sure everyone listening has seen, but we're going to recap it anyway. So I first noticed something weird when Franklin Fiddler checks out and he goes to kiss, and I'm like, he kissed in a really weird spot. As it almost, I was like, I wonder if he feels like he hasn't earned this or something, or like, I don't. It was so strange because he kissed near where the poof of the sort of Spartan helm
plume
is.
Poof.
You can't say poof anymore.
No. That's on the list.
It's on the list. It's on the DC list.
Yeah.
Cancel
Is
this
that an
one.
Arrested Development bit?
I'm the one that should be in that poof. It's the name of the magazine.
Yes,
of the,
that's right.
The
Anyway,
Magician's
so
Guild.
I noticed that it was he kissed in an odd spot, and I thought that was very weird. I was sort of wondering, and then the camera cuts to more subs happening, and it's Apollo's turn to check out, and then it immediately pans to Trey shoving 2 Michigan players.
Yep.
And I don't know if there's enough PTSD that was I the only one to recoil and be like, oh God, what did we do? What happened? What did we do? Which is wild because considering who we're playing, it should be no surprise that this happened and whose fault it is. And if we happen to have a Michigan fan listening to us, it's wild. There's only one school that this shit keeps happening to.
Whether it's against us or Ohio State or Maryland or whomever.
Truly. Or Wisconsin.
Yeah. And then credit needs to go to, I believe it was Spartans Illustrated that had it's available on Twitter, sort of the wider out view of kind of how it all went down. And it becomes clear that those 2 Michigan players were verbally told to step back.
First by Jaden.
Yeah.
And then by Trey.
Verbally told to step back from the Spartan helm for the senior day, kissing of the Spartan helm. And they did not move. So Trey went and moved them.
I believe Trey said that he overheard them say specifically that they were doing this on purpose. And Trey then said, I asked them to move, and if they weren't going to, I was going to have them moved, or something to that effect. And he did. And so scuffle ensues, offsetting technicals issued, which I do love. Plum and I were discussing after the game that it seems that Michigan was assessed a technical for being a fucking asshole. Because there's like...
That's a rule.
If that is a rule, they get teed up every minute of every game, though. Like you can't actually
true.
have a,
Yeah.
a game against the University of Michigan if they get technicals for that.
I feel a bit bad then, thus for Frankie, who kind of tried to avoid a situation and got robbed potentially of maybe the moment he had envisioned. And then I feel bad for Zappala, who had his moment interrupted.
You got it back. Don't worry.
Yeah, I know, but still. And then we find out after the game that Tre Holloman had immediately been contacted by Cassius and Mateen Cleaves, and said, "Thank
done,
you for doing that."
Yep.
And then in the post game celebration, Tom Izzo invites Tre Holloman out to kiss the Spartan helm in the post game celebration, which I believe makes him the only junior who's ever been asked to do that.
Yeah, he will be the only player to. Well, he won't be the only player to do it twice, but he'll be the only underclassman to have done it.
To have done it. I think there's a couple things I wanted to mention about this. First is I missed the broader context. I immediately assumed we did wrong and immediately texted you both, "Can you shut the fuck up?" Because I went right back to Iowa and I was like, oh my God, like saw visions of him getting teed up in a moment where it was going to be very dangerous for us because we had very much not won the game by that point. And was beginning to question his, competence is to understand the game. My guy, calm the fuck down.
I mean, we had won the game. We were up like 1,000.
What, the Iowa on the Iowa game?
No.
The Iowa
I'm
game,
saying the
no.
Iowa game. Yeah, no, that was where it took me, and that's why I was very scared contextually. But I was wrong, and I then, of course, this was pointed out to me, and then I immediately felt like a dum-dum. There are a couple points I want to make. The first is I'm going to wait on Dusty May until we get to Dusty May.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll just stick with my first point, which is, in my experience, at collegiate, at high school, any, I guess those are the two where senior day is held. Coaches come to the referee crew before the game and say to us, "FYI, it's senior night or senior day or whatever, and here's what we're going to be doing." It's often during the halftime, but at the end of a game, things will happen, and they want to make subs, and they want to make sure they get their guys out, or they start in a certain way, and they want to make sure they get them off. So we know. I have to assume the same thing happened in this game. Before the game, by the way, DJ Carstensen, Larry Scarato,
They've both done
these
this.
guys have refereed. This has to be in the 15th fucking senior game that they have refereed at Michigan State because they are some of the best officials. They get the plumbest assignments, and a Michigan State game or a senior game is going to be one of the, especially coming this late in the season before the tournament. I mean, this is a game they're going to work. So they're not new to this. And they know the tradition. They would have been told the tradition. Izzo would have said, in these circumstances, this is how I'm going to begin subbing, and this is what you're going to see happen. And we want you, and because so the referees have got to be part of it.
It's not normal subbing anyway.
It's not normal subbing.
Technically normal subbing, but
Yeah.
the way the time takes and all of that.
Yes. And we've
that is
seen
not
coaches
normal.
and we've seen coaches get pissed about this in the past. This is not the first time that
Holtman.
people have felt a kind of way about it.
At Ohio State, yeah.
And when coaches do get upset about it, it's generally because they're newish and because they're getting throttled and they have wee PP. And so
Little,
it just
little Kelly
just
Pfeifers.
Kelly Pfeiffer PP. So that's not good for them. And that hurts. So that's what that is. My beef today, though, is with, and I love DJ Carstensen. You'll hear no Spartan podcast host will be a bigger stand for DJ Carstensen than yours truly.
I think that's safe to say. Yeah.
Lurchest of all Big Ten officials, and God bless him. Standing at half court, this is on you, my guy. You see them standing there. You hear what they're saying. If Tre hears them, you can hear them. You have to be dialed into this. It's called preventive refereeing. And anyone at that level knows exactly what you're supposed to be doing in that moment. You and the crew have briefed this. Close game or not close game, you know what the tempers are going to be. They've already been in each other's faces. We've already had a pair of offsetting technical fouls. They already know the atmosphere of the game. So you've got to be dialed into that. So you see two guys on the Spartan helm, and you know what's happening right now. Before anyone goes over there, you go over there and you say to them, move off the helmet. Stand over there, take 2 steps over, guys, and you just approach them kind of hands out, and it's like you're talking to them. and you're making conversation. And as you step into them, you are physically moving them along. Anyone who's ever refereed at a high level knows how to use body language and force and personality. And this guy's got fucking 7 feet himself to tower over the young men and say to them, gentlemen, we're going to move over a little bit because Michigan State's doing their thing right now. And you wouldn't want anyone to come into your house and disrespect you. And honestly, whether they're new or they're not new or they're just punks or they're assholes or whatever they are, they'd understand that. And they'd hear the referee, and they get the fuck out of the way. And this would have been avoided completely. So this is largely on the referee crew, and I say to them, boo. Very boo.
Who do we write a letter to about this one?
No one, because they know. They know that they could have prevented this.
Tom's already taken care of this, I'm sure.
They know they could have prevented this.
The other two things, so related to this, Plum. One, someone grabbed, and forgive me, I do not remember your but someone astutely went and grabbed the previous free throw because, I'm going to table this and we'll save this as your transition for into Dusty May. But one of the young gents on the line there was Fat Brooks, and Fat is from Grand Rapids. He was recruited by Michigan State, and you bet your ass he knew what the fuck was happening in that moment. Yep. So boo. But yes, so back to the transition point to Dusty May, which is that someone grabbed the previous free throws that Michigan State had shot and compared and contrasted the alignment of the Michigan Wolverines. And lo, their guards were hanging out at the 3-point arc, not at fucking half court.
Not 2x2 right in the middle of the court. Standing where that's supposed to be happening.
It was interesting when all of this went down. Dusty and Tom had a talk with DJ, and it seemed like Dusty was managing well. Was like, "Hey, my bad, didn't know, blah blah blah, whatever."
Can I just on this point? Izzo comes over first. Izzo does not leave the bench. So when the fracas happens, Izzo doesn't leave. He stands up and one of his assistants grabs him and pulls him back. He's not going anywhere. Dusty May, though, is there before the officials are. Because Dusty May, I think, to this point, understands at this point he's fucked up. He now knows.
There's two different Dusty Mays in this.
There's two Dusty Mays. And there's the I'm a big boy. I wear my khakis like all good Michigan coaches. And he's, oh, fuck. Now I have to go and intervene on this because I've created this mess. And so he pulls them back. It is Izzo. Once they've calmed down, Izzo comes beeline, and DJ sees him and is like, whoa, no. And Izzo's like, no, we're okay. I just got to say one thing to him. And then Dusty kind of comes over, and you can see DJ's like, I don't like this. This doesn't feel right. And you see Izzo, and you can't, because the camera goes, but I'm confident Izzo, because he points to the spot, and then he points at him, and he does kind of this shrugging thing, and he's saying to him, motherfucker, we told you this was going to happen at the beginning of the game. Why are they there? and then I think you kind of see DJ go, yeah. Why were they there?
And in that conversation, they mutually agreed to end the game. They agree they're going to do this sort of just hold the ball.
We're all done.
It's over.
We got to get to that before we.
I think that was it.
Point is, there are two Dusty Mays. There's the Dusty May that ran out there that knew that he screwed up and knew that he needed to be reconciliatory and just get out of there. And then there's the Dusty May that got held on to by the U of M athletic director, or not director. Obviously, he didn't leave the buffet line, but someone from the athletic department in the locker room that was like, actually, this isn't how things work at this university. You're going to go up there during your press conference and you're going to be like, are we not allowed? Are we not allowed to stand at half court anymore? We're just asking questions. We're just asking questions out here. There's two different versions of this, man. There's the one that understood the situation.
Yep.
And then there's the Block M one.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, so afterwards is like, are we not allowed to stand there? Mm-hmm. Like, is that it was so disappointing.
Yeah.
And I think, though, what was the most disappointing thing is that he said they've earned the right to rub our noses in it. Well,
not
first,
what's
Dusty.
happening.
First, Dusty. I don't know if you own a dog, but you probably shouldn't any longer. But we're into positive dog training at this point in time. You don't rub their nose in it.
And let me tell you, it's a perfect method. It does not take a long time. It is not frustrating.
It works all of the time.
You don't ever question it. That's for sure.
It's definitely replicative of how mother dogs raise their pups.
You really don't fantasize about maybe sometimes not doing it. It's perfect. You don't know. Anyway, continue.
But so
Great.
that to me was the most insulting piece of this, not this sort of bullshit straw man or whatever argument of like, are we not allowed to stand there? It was the idea that this was about them in any way.
Yep.
Because truly, like, what's the meme about the like, go get in there and make this about yourself? Like,
yeah, so good.
Like, what, dude? It's the scene.
It's not your senior day. Why is it that the University of Michigan, more than anyone else on God's fucking green earth, is able to make every fucking thing about themselves? Their honor, their integrity, their Michigan difference, the leaders in the best. The leaders in the best don't do stupid shit like this. You lost at an opponent's home, and they're rolling in their season. You had 2 opportunities. You fucked the dog both times. Just get out of the way. And you can't say they didn't know. This idea, well, they're young and they're going to learn about the rivalry now. No, that's just CBS bullshit to kind of move things along. You knew. You stood there on purpose. The head coach doesn't come running faster than the referees to intervene because he's put them up to this. And I have to say, I was watching the game with a buddy of mine, and I had said to him, I like Dusty May. I find the guy likable. He's kind of common sense. He's not big emotions. He just seems like a kind of guy that, like, for Michigan, they could have done a whole fucking lot worse. Why fucking why do I have to say one nice thing and you just absolutely piss on me, and not in a good way? I don't know what that is.
There's 2 Dusty Mays. There's the Dusty May that you said that about, and then there's the Dusty May that got block M'd. And Jonesy, to what you said about why this is disappointing, this is not disappointing, because I don't want to be in a position where I accidentally kind of respect a Michigan coach again a little bit, and I don't have to worry about that anymore. I got that chip. I got that disrespect. We're good.
You think he got blocked M'd? I think this is classic. He's a tough guy when he's not on the court. Which is, which is frankly indicative of their entire program.
Yeah, maybe he like really good culture fit then.
Yeah. 2 quick notes before Greg, you wanted to talk about the broadcast, and because I want to get to Raf's comment. But so 2 quick notes in the scuffle. First dude off the bench for Michigan State, Xavier Booker. He was ready to brawl. Second,
worth calling out.
Noted. Did not note that. Well done.
Was restrained by a coach. Yep.
That is good podcasting, Mike Jones. Well done.
Wow.
The other funniest thing, Greg, you pointed out that they agreed to sort of dribble this thing out, which meant that Michigan State could have taken a final shot and instead opted to take a shot clock violation. Jeremy Fears hilariously passes the ball to Kurtang
finds a patsy
to take the turnover, which I guess, credit to what Fears thinks his legacy might possibly be here one day, that he didn't want a single turnover.
Yep.
But the comment that Raf made was that he said they should skip the handshake line after this. And that was the single dumbest fucking thing I think I've ever heard Raf say.
Very good.
What? Why?
Very good. Yep.
And we shouldn't have a problem shaking their hands.
Yep.
So, and if they got a problem doing it, then
look in the fucking mirror. Yes, exactly. Yeah. And just can we just stop with the inability to hold folks accountable for their actions? Getting your ass in the line is about decorum. It's about being a grown up. So you're getting paid enough money to act like a fucking adult. Act like a goddamn adult. That's the
You're getting paid more money than most adults.
Than almost any other adult, proportionally.
Mm-hmm.
Stupid
yeah,
fucking
some
thing.
people who played 4 minutes in this game might be paid more than the three of us combined.
Let's not talk about that anymore.
Probably not. Probably not.
Definitely.
And it was 7 minutes, Michael. Thank you.
You're right. I'm sorry. 11 minutes of the course of 2 games.
Very good.
Anything else we want to say about this game?
If I complaining about the officiating or the broadcasting,
Yep.
love Raf. I know this is the CBSA crew,
Yep.
but a little bee in my bonnet, if we're going to stick on the University of Michigan, showing the series results going all the way back to the beginning of time does not count. It's like the university in the state with the most resources that was born with the state versus an agricultural college that pulled itself up by its bootstraps and made itself what it is today. Those beginning years don't count. They're garbage. Everything should start by MSU joining the Big Ten and moving forward. And they know this too. They know the history. If you're a stats team that can pull like it when the moon is in its full harvest and the Bee Gees are number one in if you can do that, you know the history of this stuff. You don't have to read the books. You don't have to read Fear and Loathing in the Big Ten or whatever it's called. Arrogance and Scheming is what it's called. Like, you know the history. Start from when MSU was in the Big Ten and move forward. It's fair enough, and it's easy enough to do. It's all of our living memory. It's almost everyone's watching's living memory at this point. Yeah. And then also, like, how do you not have a package of showing other MSU greats also kissing the S? How is it every year it's such a throwaway? Half the time they forget that they do this. How do you not have
Particularly with the Big Ten Network
the cameras
just did a documentary just the other day.
Make a big thing of it. Why is it so afterthoughty every single broadcast, every single year? Do something. It's a great tradition. Lead to it. It's a great storyline. Isn't that what this senior day stuff and college basketball, all that stuff is so all about?
Yeah, I don't. It almost felt like Raf. Right in the moment of the scuffle, it's as if the crew didn't fully appreciate the tradition. That they didn't understand.
They kind of half mentioned it, like, "Oh, I think Raf even was like, let's see if they continue the tradition." Like, what do you mean? They're up 1,000. They're
Raf
obviously
had clearly
continue.
been at Crunchies earlier in the day. I know they opened at noon, but the 8 minutes between noon and tip, he was slamming drinks.
It's not just the CBS crew. Maybe it's our SID team. They need to be working this harder during the week. I don't know what it is, but this happens every year.
Great. So, all right. A couple other notes. Look, I think this team is pretty unique. Greg, you and I were talking about this. It's entirely possible that this team does not have a single person on the first or second All Big Ten team, and just won the Big Ten going away by 3 games.
Yep.
Wild. I think if that's true, there should be zero conversation about whether Tom Izzo is Coach of the Year in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
And frankly, should be in the conversation for Coach of the Year nationally.
Well, when we win our natty, he will be.
And Jace, I understand that there are super freshmen, whatever. Jace is the best player on the best team. He needs to be at least given a like rookie or freshman of the year accolade. It's like a throwaway. Like no one. This is not a hyper prestigious award. Do that. That's the least you can do, media and or coaches.
Yep.
I have a question for you both. Is there a freshman we've had who's better than Jace?
Not that I can recall. Not talking about my living memory. Not since we were in the zone. I don't think so.
No.
I mean, so we're watching a 1-of-1 right now.
Yeah.
May not see it again, at least under Izzo anyway. I mean, it's so hard to play.
A freshman that's so impactful on a team that wins the Big Ten. Right. That does not exist.
Correct. Yeah. Because this is a team that's won by committee, which I think further underscores that point.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna open it here.
There it is.
And say, guys, It's been too long since we've raised a banner. So cheers.
Cheers.
The thing about that, though, there are 18 teams in the Big Ten now. 3 of them don't even get invited to the conference tournament.
It's true.
If it was 100% even, which of course it's not, like winning a Big Ten championship is becoming a bigger deal.
A big deal.
All the time.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to do it going away like this.
And this will be our segue into the next segment. It was very cool to see the hockey team on the floor post game with the basketball team, both trophies there in a never been done before at Michigan State.
Never been done before in the conference.
Yeah, I would based upon who would have
the fact that Minnesota wins most of the hockey ones, that makes it pretty easy to figure out.
Yeah, has Wisconsin won it in a while? I mean, that'd be the only other one that could maybe do it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it's been done. Yeah. Not that hockey Big Ten is all that important, but I don't think it's been done.
But still, very cool. So what's going on in hockey, and then we'll move to the dour news about the women's basketball team.
It's bye week, of course, in the Big Ten conference tournament for your Spartan Icers, but we know who they will be playing. Penn State went on the road to Yost Ice Arena and swept Michigan. The good news there is that Michigan got swept, and we don't care for them. The bad news is maybe the hottest team in hockey is continuing to be very hot, and now they're coming to our house in a single elimination game where the last time they were in our house, which is not that long ago, they beat us, and then we beat them in overtime. So it's not great. I think I would have preferred the winged helmets come to town under these circumstances. It's funny.
When win a natty, win it.
Swept. Yeah.
Win the game.
So be it Mun, cheer. These are such fun games. Speaking of listener Mike Jones, thank you. Got to go to a Big Ten. Got to go to the championship game last year with Mike. Go to Mun. It's a blast. And cheer on your team. Send them to the finals for the second straight year.
It's wild they even have this tournament considering how few teams get to go to the NCAA tournament. Mm-hmm. And the championship it's already been won.
And also considering how few Big Ten ice hockey teams there are.
Yeah.
And how you play them all. You play them all over the course of the season. And they're like, well, let's do a tournament anyway.
Yeah. This feels even less important than the men's basketball tournament in terms of its validity. Speaking of basketball tournaments, Michigan State plays Iowa and loses 61-74. Real bummer. Caitlin Clark was in attendance and seemed to be working the refs from the sideline, so I blame her exclusively. So I'm a big fan of Angel Reese rebounding her own shot now as my basketball. I'm out on Caitlin. But Frelick's in, right? The Fighting Frelick's are in. Yeah?
I would hope so. I mean, Torvik still has them in the mid-20s. They should be in the tournament. Yeah, 23. That is too high on the men's side, at least, in the era of tempo-free stats to not be in. 21-9, I think they're good. They got to be in.
I hope so.
And they lost to an Iowa team that's not bad. It's not like it's not like it's a bad loss.
All right. Let's move along here. And before we do, we're going to say a few words about our dear friends at Mama's Mercantile and Eatery, where homemade dishes meet locally sourced ingredients. You can find Mama's Merc at 4450 Clear Lake Road in Grass Lake, Michigan. Whether you're dining in or ordering online, experience great food, drinks, and an atmosphere at Mama's. You can visit mamasmerc.com for menus, online ordering, and more. Come as a guest, leave as family. Mention Can't Read, Can't Write, and get 10% off of your bill. All right, gentlemen, let's head off Grand River. Let's start with the fun stuff. Mark Dantonio has been nominated to or appointed to or whatever, who gives a shit what you call it, to the College Football Playoff Committee. And thank God, because I hope that he goes full Juwan Howard on Ward Manuel while he's in
Molly Wops.
Molly Wompson, thank you very much.
Mark is the Han Solo to the Jabba the Hutt. So I don't know. But I'm excited for Mark. This hopefully is a fun football involvement in retirement, right?
For sure. And well earned. Like, and also, like, who else? It's not just us, but like all football fans might not understand this, but this is a guy that you want on this committee. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're not from Bama or Georgia, like you want Mark Dantonio in that room.
Right.
So
right. It's good for college football to have him on that day in the room.
Less maybe fun for 2026, right? Michigan State has opted to move its final game of the season against Maryland to Ford Field. Zero pressure from TV executives or the Big Ten. This was their choice, is what's being reported. Gentlemen, Plum, we'll start with you. Haven't chatted with you in a minute. Thoughts?
I don't know. I mean, part of me doesn't care. I've heard and read some pretty compelling stuff on the impact that this has on East Lansing. There are a finite number of football games and other opportunities for the businesses in downtown East Lansing, hotels, bars, restaurants, etc. These are windfall days for them, and so giving away home games to go play at a neutral site like in Detroit is not a huge boon to the economy. That's well taken. I think that's a smarter, a more astute observation than I probably would have made. We talked about the impact that this has on sort of, it's not much of an impact on Detroit. I mean, I guess to some extent, there probably is an influx. People will come there. But one of you had made the point that asked the question, does this reflect, maybe you were just parroting this question, does this reflect Michigan State having a deeper connection in some level to Detroit?
Someone else said that.
Someone else said that. And, my reaction was immediately outraged because I don't even fucking know how to assess that question or even answer it. I don't think it's even a good question. I think it's about as ass backward as you can ask a question. Because there's a fuck ton of MSU alumni here, and it's great. But MSU alumni have no fucking problem getting to East Lansing for games. We'll also have no problem filling Ford Field. I just don't care. It's a little bit closer for me. Maybe I'll go to this one. I would have been happy to go and stay with Greg in East Lansing. And so I don't know. I guess I just don't care. And so if I'm supposed to care, I guess I would care with this side of small business in East Lansing and kind of be like, don't do these stupid things. These are shenanigans. Is that like old man yelling at cloud?
No. Old man yelling at cloud is what I could be doing right now. But
Please do.
I'm deciding to take my medicine. I complained a lot about this the first time. People went to the game. People had a good time, even though we lost.
Uh-huh.
And then on our senior day this year, I know that not a lot of people showed up. So I want these games in East Lansing. I want them to be walking distance from my house.
Good.
But That's good. I understand that not everyone lives in East Lansing. I understand that this means that MSU will play in front of a sold-out crowd in front of Maryland, where maybe it won't, which is, if I'm making an argument about like the competitive advantage, maybe it's greater at Ford Field.
Against Maryland, for sure.
I understand that a huge portion of the alumni lives in Metro Detroit, and it's a fun little game that they get to go to and
probably have family there over the Thanksgiving holiday. That's the other thing, right?
Oh, yeah,
it's the Thanksgiving of it all.
That's what it is.
College football should not be played on Thanksgiving weekend.
Yep.
I don't think. But
yeah,
it is. So we're losing a home game.
Yeah.
And fine. Graham posted, and I hadn't had a chance to follow up on this, that MSU thinks it's going to make more money moving to Ford Field. Like it's financially beneficial moving to Ford Field. Maybe I misunderstood his tweet, but I didn't follow up on it. Do you know, Jonesy, about this?
I don't. I didn't see it. Not great if you're misunderstanding the written word of a writer, but I can reach out and ask.
I think there was a whole article that he articulated this in that I just haven't looked into yet. So if it's beneficial for the athletic department and people like it, I shouldn't be a grumpy guest just because I live here.
I just, I do wonder how you give back to the community, though. Like, not that they need to be giving money to businesses, but it is. Their students work at those businesses, almost all of them, actually.
Yep.
So, a lot of the, obviously, not all, but a lot of the owners live in the area. Some of them are legitimately, small businesses that I would care about the owners. Others are, larger corporations that I couldn't give two shits about. But
well, we all care about Rick's. We all think everything that I do in life. I think first, how will this affect Rick's American Cafe in East
Rick's
Lansing?
is as close as you will get to the embodiment of Lord of the Flies. Like,
That's great.
It is run by children. Yeah. I don't understand. I'm getting carded and asked for money to enter to this place by children. Like, what?
And you're paying it. And you're paying it.
PT's was the move. All right. Let's do these. Do we want to preview Indiana, Oregon? I'm personally rooting for Indiana because we need some revenge.
Yeah.
Revenge tour. Yeah, sure. For what we're talking about here, in case someone hasn't looked at the Big Ten tournament schedule, we will be playing noon on BTN on Friday, which kind of sucks. I kind of wish they had them the other way around, where the 1 seed played last. But we take on the winner of Indiana, Oregon. That's what Jonesy is referring to here. You also have in here the logo of the Big Ten tourney, Jonesy? No? Plum?
I didn't add that.
Yeah, no. Me. I did. I just think that this logo is very fucking stupid.
Because you missed the pinwheel?
Because I missed the pinwheel. And because what the fuck is two checkered flags mean? This isn't NASCAR. What are we doing? Why are we debasing ourselves? I get that Trump was elected president. I get that every neck car fan in the world feels some entitlement to hike up their jorts a little higher and, I spit out their hayseed. This is one of the fucking stupidest things. And I understand that it has zero impact on anything. And I'm just outraged over nothing. But the TIAA men's tournament branding is just fucking another debasement in a long saga of stooping lower and lower in the commercialization of sport and those things that I hold dear, chief among them alma mater.
This is because, Plum, all that's good must pass from this world.
Yes.
And if you haven't, listeners, if you haven't clocked this, the Big Ten tournament is going to be leaving Indianapolis in the future. It's here
Vegas,
this year.
right?
Then it's going to Chicago. Then it's going back to Indianapolis. Then it's going to Vegas.
Yeah.
And once the cat is out of the bag on that, I'm worried. I love Indianapolis.
Sure.
I wish that it could just be the hub forever of all of these events because the city does it so well and that they're so fun to go to. But once it starts going to Vegas, next stop, LA, next stop, Seattle, next stop, and then Indianapolis. I think Indianapolis is seeing the writing on the wall, or at least is getting a little like tight. The way that you're gonna feel like you're gonna lose something, and they're like their commerce department or something was like, well, let's make it quintessential Indianapolis. Let's get our checker flag out there. Maybe they'll care about the Indy 500 if we put it on. It's sad. It's a bummer.
You know she's cheating on you, and so you're trying to play the hits. And we should 2 years from now, we should all agree right here, right now. Let's do the tournament because God knows it may be the last one in Indy.
In 27.
Yeah.
When you say 2 years from now, and then I say 27, I feel so old.
And that's Plum's lucky number, so he's got to
There
say
we go.
yes.
There we go.
He'll probably be traveling to Djibouti or something. But
Oh
what?
my God. Or as the president would say, who's ever even heard of that shithole? Sorry. Not my words. Not my words.
All right, let's take these social media questions, shall we?
Let's.
All right. First up, listener Mike Jones. Again, Mike Jones, thank you for the beverages. They've been fantastic. And I'm feeling very celebratory.
Yes. I'm getting all the more celebratory by the minute here.
I'm on my second. I did 7 and 20. So,
My man.
first from Mike Jones. Fuck Michigan forever. Is there a question there?
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't need to be.
There is no question there.
Cheers to that. Couldn't agree more. Next up from Mike Jones. After last month, where does Tre rank on your list of all-time favorite Spartan basketball players? Let's make this one a round robin. This feels like a good round robin one.
Top 10.
Tre has some Draymond in him that we've not seen since Draymond.
Mm-hmm.
Who talks shit down 7?
Mm-hmm. And then backs it up.
Yeah.
Backs it up, wins it. I feel bad for Cohen Carr because my take earlier this year was if you're watching these games, Cohen Carr is obviously your favorite player, not just because of the dunks, but because of everything else he does. Tre's kind of come in and drank that milkshake a little bit.
Tre took that disrespect and showed exactly what
he came up to me like, what's his name in Iowa? And was like, what are you talking about?
Listen, white boy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Same thing.
Very good.
Plum, what do you think?
I don't know. I probably a Tre, right?
Top ever?
Maybe.
Or top 10 or what?
I don't know. I think after this week, I don't know. I just don't know.
It says a lot that Tom let him kiss the emblem.
I think
I'll just say, like,
I mean, he'll never
lot.
be Cassius. He'll never be Drew Neitzel, obviously. So there's only some things, but in terms of like, I don't know. There's something about Tre that
you don't want to be prisoner of the moment, but
I think I am prisoner of the moment, Michael.
Well, I'm saying
live
I'm
in the
kind of
now,
feeling
Michael
that.
Jones.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll say
Be present.
probably 8th. I don't fucking know how to rate it. I just am
He's
happy
the
with
second
him.
best one to wear the number 5.
It's a great place, Plum, and that's why I'll ask you to enumerate 7 through 1. Now, in order.
Okay. Yes. So
No, you don't have to.
okay, good. Because Drew Neitzel was 1 and Cassius was 2.
Oh my God.
And then someone else was 3.
Next up, Sarah G
Sutan.
asks.
Sutan. Everyone's number 3.
Everyone's number 3, Corin Sutan, obviously.
Kenny Goins, but sophomore year Kenny Goins.
Yeah, but
Ben
only
Carter.
that one. Yeah. Max Christie would have been number 4 if he'd stayed until he was a senior.
Wow. What could have been Max Christie?
What could have been Max Christie, number
4. Next up, Sarah G asks, who would win in a fight, Tre Holloman or a grizzly bear?
Well, a grizzly bear would objectively eat
But
him.
Tre's not backing down in that fight.
He won't. No, he'll die with valor, but he will die.
He will ignore the advice to play dead
dead.
You're supposed to with a grizzly bear.
Yeah. That's
Be like, you want that smoke? I'll give you that smoke.
Gonna be.
And then
good.
all of the papers, it would be Tre Holloman dies valiantly but in vain. In
fight with grizzly bear. Why? Oh, why did he do this?
Probably
why, oh,
could
God.
have escaped or other options.
Put down his shotgun and died valiantly.
Next up from Spartan 1963, is it too soon to stock up on Kleenex from when Tre kisses the logo next year?
Do we have the schedule for next year? Do we know who's going to be standing in his way? Who he's going to absolutely headbutt?
We
don't know what teams are going to be in the conference next year. So I don't know.
Good point. Great. Better. That's it. Well done, you. Yep. Fuck.
What we played 3 teams 2 times, right?
Yeah.
So they've got 3 more teams they could add just to like make it awful. Play everyone once. Next up, Andrew Prince, who I think is the first time. What's our ceiling? What 1 seed do we not want to have in the same region as us? These are 2 separate questions, so but we can take them as one. Greg?
Ceiling is still 1, right? Like if they win the Big Ten tournament, it's a really compelling argument for a 1 seed, isn't it?
I was looking at brackets earlier. I don't think it's going to happen because we're the 3rd 2 seed according to like the composite of all brackets of people who are good at doing brackets.
Yeah.
So it's Auburn, Duke, Houston, Florida, and then it's Bama, Tennessee. I mean, I guess there's a world in which,
Bama there's a lot of compelling reasons to kind of push Bama down. Like they're struggling against the class of the SEC.
They just beat
I know
Auburn.
less. Okay, well there we go. Let's take the second question then. I'll do that because it's easier. I think really Duke is the only team that you want to avoid as long as possible. What do you think, Paul?
I think it's Duke. Auburn. I don't want to be playing Auburn. I think I want to play Auburn less than I want to play Duke. Honestly,
I got to
Duke has
put in
not
all
played
of
a
this.
ranked opponent in the ACC all season.
I've trusted Houston in too many of my brackets and been burned too many times. I know that their measurables are really good and Kelvin Sampson's a really good coach.
Yeah.
But like I've trusted them
Yeah.
so many times. They're like the new Virginia. And I know that Virginia did win a natty, but they also lost to a 16 seed.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
I think I do think you want Florida though.
If you can get them.
I mean, if you can get Florida,
Yep.
consider that a win. Though they'll be out west. That's actually something really interesting is that all of the 1 seeds are very East Coast centric.
Yeah.
Someone's going to have to fly out west.
That's my concern. I was talking about this with my buddy today. Being number 1 of the 2s, that's the goal. And staying in this time zone is the other goal. Those 2 goals, I don't really care who I have to play, but I think I'd prefer to not have to play Auburn.
Because there's a regional championship in Indianapolis, isn't there?
Yeah, I think that's right.
What does it take to get to that?
Probably Duke and Auburn.
See, this is why we're not journalists, Michael.
Yeah,
hurtful.
We should find a bracketologist to drag on here. Next up,
My Uncle Ken. Let's get him here.
Kenny!
I don't have an Uncle Ken. I don't have an Uncle Ken.
Spartan 18770. Plum, can you read these? I read
Yes,
the
I
last
can.
one.
Yep. Fuck Michigan. Second point, fuck Michigan. Third point, and fuck Michigan. And that is all.
Spartan 18770, we don't usually do 2 questions during the season.
Right.
That's a summer thing and appreciate you, but in this case, we'll allow it.
Please continue.
Next up is Beth Amaro.
Hey, Beth.
Now that we've closed out a season, we'll be talking about for a while. What would you say was our best win? Worst loss? I'm going to hop
Great
in on loss
question.
here. It's Indiana, right?
Yeah, that's it.
That Indiana one stings.
Memphis.
pathetic.
Memphis was also sort of like, I think you're right. Indiana is the
At Memphis, we didn't know what this team could be. And I think this team didn't know what they could be. And Memphis at least won their conference. That's more than Indiana can say.
Sure.
How about that Oregon home win? That was like sort of a get right game after the West Coast tilt against USC and UCLA. What do we think about that Oregon game that Jonesy, you and I were at, by the way, for the best
I don't like that
win
one
of the
just the
season?
first half. Giving up 50 at home in a half is no bueno.
Yeah, but then it was a lot of fun in the second half. And
It was a lot of
I know that Indiana happened right after that, but then it sort of just went.
I think it might have been the Illinois game for me. There was just a lot.
home or away.
The away.
Go away.
Away.
Away is the connoisseur's choice.
Yeah. It was the
I was
away
going to
one.
pick Maryland.
The one where the Trey's 3. where he cements himself as a
Yeah, and that Maryland team is good.
yeah.
Juicy in the tournament.
And their crowd was incredible.
Yeah,
Like,
it's true. I fell in love with that chant.
And we hurt them.
Did you know
we hurt them?
We did hurt them.
The writer of that song? Hurt people, and they hurt Michigan later on, so that was great. But the writer of that song, did you know he was arrested for pedophilia?
Of the chant or like the actual song?
The song. Yeah.
Why do you have to make good things bad, Michael?
Well, someone put it on the internet. I'm like, wait, I didn't know about this because it's on like Jock Rock Volume 2 or something like that.
I believe that.
And yeah, and then I was like, oh God. So apparently the NFL didn't strongly encourage their teams to stop playing it.
Well, Maryland never
And
got
Maryland was like, lean in, baby.
Fuck that, because it is catchy as hell, and I fucking love it.
It's very good. Also, I think that song is so like I can't even remember the name of the band who made that song because who gives a shit?
I agree. I think I agree with you on the Indiana loss. I think the UCLA loss or the USC loss, either of those pair was distressing because we had no business losing either of those two games, and it was a real function of sort of a loss of our mettle on the road in the West and the Pacific time zone. So those are bummers. Yeah.
Do you notice that none of us said Kansas in all of this? And it feels like it's a different team.
Yes,
Kansas.
100%.
Well, and the Kansas team is also a different team.
Yeah.
They didn't hate each other then. They clearly hate each other.
Nowadays.
No. They all hate Dickinson, and he hates himself. And that's what's drawing that team apart.
We didn't talk about this last week, that Bill Self posted just like a statement on the season and the program and then all the gambling stuff apparently that's going into that. That's good summer fodder. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Yeah, for someone, probably Joe Ashworth, or not Joe Ashworth, who's our historian? God damn it.
What are you talking about?
Someone will need to remind us of that, is my point.
Very good.
That we promised to do that.
Okay, sure.
Next up, Beth Amaro. I'm not so hot on retiring number 5 if we keep finding absolute legends worthy of wearing.
Okay, Beth.
That's a take.
Beth with the back-to-back really good questions.
Well, Monopoly, take notes.
What? Okay, you know what? Well, all right. Okay. Are you saying that just because they're both women? You know? Are you just saying that because they're both women? Don't you put Beth on Monopoly's level. Don't you dare. Don't you dare.
No, I'm just saying a great question to a bad questioner.
All right.
Oh, I just figured out what you were talking about, Jonesy, and I can't believe you did that to Jason Fry.
Oh,
you're right.
Oh, my God.
That's right.
Oh, my God. Jason Fry, let me apologize on behalf of the podcast.
That's fair.
You probably understood exactly what Jonesy was saying right away. I get it now. As our scribe, you deserve more respect than that.
And Jason, the thing is, in my mind, your name was Kevin, and I was like, I know that's wrong.
Jason Fry.
And I didn't want to say that out loud because I didn't want to insult you.
More respect.
And now you've offended my husband, who's listening, and he's bothered deeply by this. So you've offended all of us.
Oh, everyone hates me. It's fine.
Next up from Jebediah. Jebediah, which sounds like Will Forte saying Jebediah. Thoughts on being featured in a Barstool article this week? Jonesy, I believe this was you.
This is you, my
guy.
It was great. I had to ask you what article because I didn't know it had happened. And I'm glad some things are kept to the internet, unlike my appearance on Locked On Spartans, which has disappeared from the internet.
Oh, shit.
So
Yeah. Also of note, the media from our Fireball Sommelier's tweet also taken from us. So we're just making content.
Oh no, we're being censored. This is why listeners
he had to use that content because he lost the content. And folks, this is not shade at Matt Sheehan, who's fantastic. It's clearly that Daddy Locked On just can't handle another podcast having so much ball knowledge as this one, predicting that we would go 4-0 to end the season
Big ball
correctly.
knowledge right there. Big ball. Cajones going on
Onions.
the locked on, calling it
Onions.
4-0. No one believed him.
Onions.
We made fun of him on this podcast for going and saying that, by the way. But
Who knows ball? This guy knows ball.
He knows ball, and Daddy locked on can't handle it. Next up from Gigi Bedaya.
Plum. This is for Plum.
How soon should we expect Tre to get Savited?
Savited, as in Ellie Savitt.
Oh, well done.
Good work.
Well, good.
Good work.
That
that.
is.
I'm so sorry. I'm taking the crown for this week off of you. You did a great job, but I'm moving it on to Gigi Bedaya over here.
If power rankings were happening right now, this would be
a real steal. A real steal.
Oh.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. If only, well, I'm sure the next time that Tre Holloman steps foot in Ann Arbor into the geographic constituency or Washtenaw County, he'll be pulled over by a sheriff's deputy and arrested. So
just tell him that your name is Jeff Jackson, Tre. You'll be fun.
You'll be
next
totally
up from
good.
Thomas. After today and also jawing at Iowa earlier this week, should Holloman be in the conversation for as an all-time dog?
I think that's
so.
fair. Yeah. Yep.
I mean, he will go. For me, he
got a
will go
plaque for
down
that?
as same intensity as Draymond.
Yeah.
Great.
Like,
Yep.
would kill his own mother to win a game. Who's very
Okay.
praiseworthy of him on the
My
internet.
Lord and my God.
That's maybe too far. Next up from Thomas, did women's hoops take a tragic or strategic loss in the Big Ten tourney? Kind of thought they'd go further.
My understanding is that Iowa also is maybe the worst matchup that they could have gotten from of teams that were in the Iowa realm. There were some other options that would have been better for Michigan State. So, and Caitlin Clark was working the refs. I blame her.
Which is sort of like, should someone unaffiliated with the program be able to even talk to the officials? I mean, or interact with them in any way?
Be that close to the court? She should have been removed.
Yeah. Next up from Owen Southworth, for Plum specifically, is there a reason you hate Max Christie just because just because he left early, or is there more behind it because of what I remember? I really liked watching him and was one of my favorite players on that team.
Oh, and I need you to first. I need you to go into your bank account, just see how much disposable income you have, and then hire the best psychotherapist you can find. You're going to need some deep memory regression analysis, and I want you to invest in it because when you do that, you're going to locate a trauma, and it is affecting the little boy inside of you who desperately just needs to be told that he's loved and he's safe. Okay? Because no part of you watching that season enjoyed watching Max Christie.
That's true.
No honest part of you thought that he made your experience watching those games good, positive, fun, or anything worthy of life. So I don't know what's happened to you, but I'm thinking about you. I'm going to light a candle tonight before I go to bed. I'm going to blow it out, though, before I go to sleep. And I'm going to do that because I want you to live your best life. No, as I said earlier, I have no actual animus or opprobrium at Max Christie. My issue with Max Christie. I do. I really do. And I'll tell you why. It's because he wasn't good. He did not do anything for the program. He was a guy who used us as a stepping stone onto something greater. And that, for me, personally, is unforgivable.
Plum, I asked you before we recorded, would you feel this way about Jace?
Absolutely not, because Jace has been a complete contributor. If Jace goes first round to the fucking Lakers, I'll get a jersey because Jace has been a contributor on the way to greatness. Max was not great. And I get each of these players is a product of their time and they're a product of the context in which they're operating. Max, though, was a guy that we needed to be great. Max was a guy who needed to nail threes. Max was a guy who refused to do that with any consistency. Frankly, shooting worse than Jaden Akins, which is a real testament to badness. So when it comes to all of these things, I'm glad that Max Christie's having his glow up now with the San Antonio Spurs. I don't even fucking know where he is.
Dallas Mavericks.
So Mavericks, fuck you. Don't care. and he can piss off because we needed him to be great. This program deserved that from him, and he was selfish. And so that's why I don't like him.
You said earlier in this podcast, Plum, something about his senior season. You know what season that would be, right?
Is it right now?
This one.
It's right
This
now.
would be his senior season.
Would we have a 3-point shooter on this team?
Wow. See, when you say it like that,
He shot 31%
if Max
as
Christie,
a freshman.
but you can only expect if he was shooting like he's played fucking better in the league. So if he'd stayed with us all 4 years, we were going to win the national championship anyway. But we would have really known we were going to win it.
Also, I don't want to hear this because I'm actually kind of with Plum on this. That there's this thing you'll hear about Max Christie is like, oh well, it was so hard. He had to guard their best player and do all the offense. Shut up. You want to be a champion? Be a champion then. And he wasn't.
You want to go play in the league? You want to go start in the league as a 21-year-old, 22? Fuck off. Shut 19. Up. Stop complaining. You got what you wanted. But you get no sympathy from me. None. Yeah. None whatsoever.
All right, next up.
As we're amending things that we said earlier, when we were talking about freshmen, we have to at least say the words Gary Harris. I don't think anyone did.
Oh, Harry Garris.
But I don't know that Gary Harris was
as a freshman. He was impactful, but his sophomore year was much more impactful. Yeah. And someone does
Gary Harris.
I should have said it at the time, but the answer still remains: Jace is the most impactful freshman that we've seen. Next up from Abby. I don't know if we know Abby or this is first time.
First time.
Back-to-back dunks from Jason Kohler are more electric than back-to-back car dunks? Question mark. Ooh.
Abby, ooh. I love your question. I want more of them, but no.
This was not a game where Cohen Carr got a big he had a couple opportunities. Yeah.
Though I didn't know Jackson Kohler could dunk.
Well, no. I mean, it met the definition of a dunk in the most technical sense of the word, but was not.
But I didn't know he could do that.
All right, well, you're right. He did do it. He did do that. Yeah, everyone was like, "Oh, good, he did one too." Ooh. I mean, it noticeably had less energy and the enthusiasm.
It truly is you're 6'8", so you can kind of
do that.
Do this.
Gangly.
But yeah.
All right, next up, Nate C. Great question, Abby. Scum has been trying to declare that they are, quote, the leaders and the best, when common knowledge tells you that they have a tradition of cheating to win. Do you think Scum is actually fighting big tradition for its general unfairness to them?
Is it general unfairness? I think they generally benefit from the conference. I know that their whole football season, and they're like, conference hated us and then we won it all anyway.
Yeah.
But that's because of all your cheating that you were doing the entire time. I just think that they're the worst. Again, if we can put in a plug for Arrogance and Scheming in the Big Ten, great book that outlines all of this going all the way back. They were asked to leave the conference at one point. So they're the worst. We hate them. We don't care for them. And it was a blast watching them die by a trillion. And when I say that,
an affiliate link for how much you plug that book.
It's a great book, so everyone should read it. Next up from Nate C. Dusty May said he's never actually watched an MSU senior game. Quote, I don't watch a lot of MSU games. We only played them twice, and I figured it was more important to beat Ohio State. And then he says May probably. So this is actually not a quote from Dusty May, but he's paraphrasing. Do you think he'll be more attentive to the rivalry in the future?
Counterpoint, Nate. Based upon that bullshit they pulled, I think he's plenty attentive to the rivalry. So
yeah, he knows. All the coaches know. The coaches know. It's their job. Next up from Mama Leaf, unless you guys want to say more on this, we kind of kicked this dead horse. Next up from Mama Leaf, BS question number 1. Did Holloman have an option to defer to the referees to move the U of M players to Santra, spelled the Canadian way, which is okay. Okay, you know what? Maybe we need to give the Canadians their moment right now. To Santra Court. Plum, this is an officiating question. I'll cede the floor to you.
Yeah, that's right. And I think he did have an option, as we talked about. He shouldn't have even had to have deferred. The referee should have been preventive and on it, and they weren't. And so boo on them. But having done it, I think we can be excited and we can celebrate the very good fact that it's given Tre Holloman this opportunity to shine. And he deserves that verily. Next up from Momopoly, BS number 2. Good God. Coach Freilich said of her 4 seniors, quote, coaching has all of its challenges, but when you get to be around great, great kids, you just feel like the luckiest. Would you consider Izzo's seniors as great, great kids, or is there a different standard?
I think this is an opportunity to chat about... Wait, sorry.
I mean, is she expecting us to be like, no, this year's seniors, not
Milk
great,
toast.
great kids.
Milk toast.
Mid.
God, that's great.
We didn't talk about the quote Stephen Brooks got from Frankie Fiddler. And this may be an opportunity to talk about that and the character of the seniors. So Frankie Fiddler was asked about his role changing. He was a star at Omaha, clearly came to Michigan State to, I think many of us predicted that he would lead the team in scoring, and it has not turned out that way. And I'm paraphrasing, but I believe the comment was something to the effect of, some might say, something about the grass being greener on the other side, but I'm a Big Ten champion. And I thought that was one of the cooler things of perspective I've ever heard from somebody, and super mature in the sense of, maybe this didn't go the way I thought it was going to go, but I'm not looking to trade back. And I think I have a hard time crediting Izzo with this, because I don't think you can credit transfer portal recruiting to anybody. It's a crapshoot. You get like 2 hours to meet these people. But I do think Izzo got somebody who fits in with what we were trying to do, which is to say, ended up being a really selfless guy who contributed to team winning and cared about team winning and found his place here. And so, anyway, Momopoly, I don't know that that's actually your question, but I'll at least shout out Franklin Fiddler as a dude mature beyond his years.
But not a great, great kid. Okay. Next up, Mr. Neurotic Pants. Is MSU playing Maryland instead of Ohio State, Penn State, Washington, or Oregon a sign that Alan Haller made a strategic decision for MSU? Why the reflexive pessimism?
This is football at the end of the year. It must be, right?
Correct.
And Alan Haller doesn't have a choice in this.
Yeah, I think
more to the
the league
point.
tells you what your schedule is, and I don't think you get to decide.
But I think he means, isn't this for the Ford Field game?
Ford Field only makes sense for Thanksgiving, and that's who we're playing.
And that just happens to be.
Thanksgiving.
All right, noted.
Yeah, Mr. Ryan Pants, I think you have it backwards.
All right, Michael, if we went by talent on the ice alone, wouldn't MSU be national champions?
I don't mean to speak out of turn here, but I think if that was true, it'd be one of the B schools or Minnesota.
I think none of us really know that much puck, and we've tried tirelessly to find someone
that does.
But that does seem to be the convention.
All right, last up tonight, gentlemen. Kevin, I went to 2/3 of an outdoor NHL game last weekend. The primitive masses gave standing ovations to an Army vet of no particular distinction, made loud noises in response to national anthem fireworks, and chanted USA when some jets did a flyover. Were these rednecks drunk or just particularly stupid? That's great. That's a great question. This is it for me. That's the winner. This is the winner of questions this week. Forced choice questions are always. That's it. That's always it.
I could just picture Raymond Chains, because we met him a few times, standing in the middle of a bunch of people, being like, "You." You idiots with your loud noises and your fireworks and your flyover jets. You yokels.
Ovations to a vet of no particular distinction is such well-worded prose that I am just giddy.
You that part might bother you, Mr. Roddick Pants. At every game I've been to this year at Breslin, they've trotted out some old dude with some
PFW.
kind of military background. And maybe not of any particular distinction, really.
That smells like a cigarette for sure.
But hey, they're there. They're like 90. All of them are super old. And they, it's kind of nice to have, if you're going to do the national anthem, have a guy there. Why not? But I do like, look at these. What is it? What is it that they say about what a great way to end this podcast? Bread and circus.
Yes, there's your bread and circus.
Yeah.
Well, and don't forget, folks, if you can, go buy Arrogance and Scheming in the Big Ten. It's on John. It's on John U. Bacon's list of best books of 2012. So.
Stop it! Don't you put that evil on that book? Don't you put that evil there?
Hey guys, we're Big Ten champs.
Champs.
And Greg, you should do the research you said you were thinking about doing. Go look in how we were talking about this team going into the season, or even after Maui.
Yeah.
Because we crushed the Big Ten this year.
3 games.
It was not fucking close. So, this team has the onions, and so with that, go green.
Go 8.
Go white.